Hello, everyone, and welcome to your horoscope for the week of July the 8th till 14th, 2024. Now, on first glance, even from an astrological perspective, this would promise quite a beautiful, harmonious, work-oriented, but in the best ways possible type of energy. So things should be rather flowy. Now, it is without shadow of a doubt that the flowiness and a sense of optimism, a sense of hope, a sense of ambition, a sense of determination. So, a lot of the good stuff, generally speaking, is going to be in the air, inside of us, around us, in everyone equally. But unfortunately, we cannot forget the overtone, the base of the energy, which is not all that flowy, if you know what I mean. So, what am I speaking about? Well, on first hand, I am speaking about Mars, which is slowly and surely all throughout the week activating that 21, 22 degrees of Taurus, where this April, so on the 21st of April 2024, the Jupiter Uranus conjunction took place, an electrifying, a quantum leap, but also chaotic conjunction, which basically pushes us into the future rather uncomfortably. Of course, depending on what we have done with that energy since April. Now, Mars is always, among so very many other things, the activator. When it touches in a conjunction, an important degree, either if something transiting is there, like for example, nodes of the moon or black moon Lilith, or vertex or part of fortune, or if something really big and significant, a conjunction, took place there. Uh, Before Mars, of course, reached it. So the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction is a very, very good example for this because Mars is going to make that energy reverberate very, very strongly. Um, Actually, since Mars is the action principle, maybe that the reverberation is felt and experienced much stronger, much more intense, much more heated, Mars fire, of course, than the actual conjunction, because the actual conjunction could have been just something purely, how should I say, non-physical, like a communication or a thought, an idea, a feeling, a coincidence which meant something, for example, or I'm not even sure, there are so very many examples to dish out here, but an event which is just like a minor seed or symbolic or just the first sign, so to speak, and that might uh, come back in our lives, or that might reactivate, that might echo very, very strongly this week, whatever that might have been in our lives personally. And of course, collectively speaking, all we need to do is just look at April. So much has happened in any way that is both Uranian and Jupiterian alike. Like, let me give you some Jupiterian examples. Aviation, like the Boeing cases and stuff like that. Um, Another example, anything that has to do with international justice and the legal system and the law and long-term agreements, but in a big way. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so Sagittarius is international. So it's the big and important stuff. But at the same time, it's not just international. In so very many places in the world, there have been very strong legislative and almost constitutional debates, upgrades, activities, like the US, for example. But then Uranus's symbolism was also very intensely out there. On one hand, uh, Uranus is the planet of revolution, uprising, protest, if you will. Taurus is agriculture, the living earth. So in Europe and very many places, the farmers protest, for example, which is also legal, but then political, Aquarius. The collective ideology, that's basically politics, Aquarius, in that sense. But technology, genetics, Taurus also rules, what nurtures us in a certain way. Other earth signs and other, elements rule that as well. But Taurus also has a certain part of nurture and nurturing. For example, taste, one of the five senses. So revolutionary activities in the food industry, some in a rather chaotic manner, conflictual manner, others in value, the price of food. This is just one of the many examples. But then new technology, new trends, new returning to nature in a rebellious way, boycotting. Boycotting is, on one hand, let's say Plutonian, because it's quite powerful and sneaky. Pluto in Aquarius, so the power of the people. That's one astrological stem. But then Uranus, the act of rebellion. And then Taurus, values, especially values that have longevity, brands, big brands, and you know what I mean. So it's been playing out collectively. So I'm not even gonna mention the collective part of the energy, because that is on one hand so obvious, and on the other hand, Uranus, expect the unexpected. Okay, Uranus in a very direct way is not yet fully in the picture, because Uranus is at 26 degrees of Taurus. Let me just show you the chart. I'll share my screen with you. So we are at the beginning of the week. There we are. So, and we see Mars at 21 degree of Taurus and Uranus at 26 degree of Taurus. Now, okay, they are starting to conjunct, they're starting to meet, they're starting to, sense each other, as in Mars is starting to energize everything, the combustion. But the energy that is actually much stronger than their conjunction is Mars activating the 21 degree of Taurus. So we'll see what happens. We have to expect something both Jupiterian and also Uranian, but also in a way Martian, because we might have to react to something, act upon something, dish something out value-wise. Let me give you the most simplest example. You've been preparing yourself really, really intensely to buy something that you really, really need and want, and we get it. But, Uranus is the planet of anticipation. So you wanted to minimize the risk in the sense that you really want that something to be the perfect match for you. Uranus, truth, authenticity, knowing yourself is knowing your purchase and investment. So you've been careful and diligent, right? And we must also remember that before Jupiter went on to conjunct Uranus, it held a sextile with Saturn, which means stability. Think it through deeply from more than one perspective. Consult basically Taurus, as in real life value, like this may mean facts, figures, numbers, research, like the real value. But Saturn in Pisces, your soul's values or family or whatever value system drives you and motivates you. So this might have represented that you were really careful. Now with this conjunction, as in Mars activating that conjunction, the past conjunction, some opportunity might arise to purchase something, the best possible investment, what you were careful with, diligent of, thought through in so very many ways. Now maybe time for action. So this might be one ways how this plays out in individually speaking. But of course, this can also trigger crisis. 21 degree of Taurus is a critical degree. That's one part. And Uranus, well, it's many times, not always, but many times it comes as a crisis. It comes as a shock. It comes as an unexpected. So you know what I mean. And of course, who it is that we are and how well could we work until this present moment with this Uranus in Taurus, as in to get out of our comfort zone, allow change, allow different way of thinking, different mindset, different values, different feelings, different sensation. You get what I mean. How well did we open up to change? Some people, let's say, who have a lot of mutable energy in them, it's not all that big deal, even if it's not easy, even if it's quite a radical change. It's not that big deal because they're actually built for this type of stuff. People with a lot of fixed energy, determined fixed energy, well, I don't want to be in their shoes, even though not in a very big degree, but in a small degree, even I'm part of that, because this Mars opposes my Saturn, my natal Saturn. So, and that's an 8th house. So, yeah. Maybe I'm also speaking about personal experience, even though I'm still stable. As you can see, I'm still around. So I haven't had the blow up part of this energy yet, and I hope that it's gonna be something really, really non-chaotic, because I personally tried really hard all throughout this year and even last year to be open to change and to not be fixed and rigid, to help my Saturn in Scorpio to lighten up a little bit. But I'm also sure that everyone listening has tried their very hardest to do the same. But why am I even saying this? Well, for those who weren't all that successful, or they adapted to all of these changes and ups and downs from 2020 onwards with resilience, rigidity. For example, the collective changes, the waves, so to speak, could not demolish anything. Well, this might be a tower moment. If that change must and is needed to come into your life, because remember, this is like a quantum leap. This is meant to push you from the past into the future. So this week might be very, very intense. So let's prepare for this collectively and individually as well. And this can also represent like weather, like hurricanes, storms, earthquake, volcano. And because Neptune is energetic, and Neptune is slow, actually Uranus is slowly and surely getting into a sextile conversation with Neptune. It might come from the bottom of the ocean, from sea, events at sea. Let's say it like that. But fortunately, there is a lot of harmonious energy as well. And the harmonious energy gives us everything that we need, not just to cope, but to actually be on top of our game in any way, shape, sense, and form. So, but before I get to the juice, the harmonious stuff, the good stuff, there at the beginning of the week, there still is a certain kind of tension and discomfort, and that is because Venus holds a square, still holds a square with Chiron and Aries. With Chiron, it's barely operational, it's waning, but with Aries, it's still quite tight. So this can be a rebellious energy and feelings. Conflict, let's say, of values, Venus, of what we love, what we believe in, how we feel towards certain things, people, events. And this might be in conflict with family, with another important person in our lives, with our community, collective, with our, I'm not even sure how to word this, our co-nationals, for example. We might feel something might make us feel that, well, at least from the perspective of whatever triggers this, we don't belong here, or we are not similar to the rest of our co-nationals. So feelings like, but you, collectively speaking, this is so obvious how it is already playing out. But individually speaking, so something causes a tension here, a Venusian tension, and it might trigger a wound, a self wound. Chiron and Aries, I am wound. So we must, but fortunately, this is not a very long-term energy. But let's finally, let's get to the good stuff. The first good energy, good, of course. Please excuse my bias in this, because it is a trine. So, it's flowy, it's harmonious. Mercury and the North Node, which means that sextiling the South Node. Now, Mercury is in the sign of Leo, and that always represents, self-expression, especially through words, like being able to express our deepest emotions. But these are not the watery emotions, not necessarily the deep psychological or the Cancerian wishy-washy feelings. These are passionate, heart-centered Leo feelings. If the fiery type of emotion. I hope I'm making sense here, because you do need to understand this rather from a more alchemical perspective. The difference between feeling, the word is the same, feeling, because we're feeling it, but it's so different when it comes from deep within our emotional world or even the unconscious, or when it comes from our heart space, our passion, our inner fire. But anyway, Mercury speaking these words of courage, against self-expression, what we want, what we desire, who it is that we are, what we are about, our stories, our needs, is really good for, now I want to say job interview, but job interview might not necessarily be very specific to Aries Leo, unless something you're very passionate about. unless it's really the job that stirs up your passion and creativity and you want to be there. But even for these non, how should I say, heated, passionately heated jobs, Jupiter in the sign of Gemini comes as a really good catalyst for communication. And this reminds me, Jupiter himself holds a trine, and which means a sextile with the North Node, trine with the South Node in Libra. Now, what does that mean? Libra is our relationships, right? South Node in Libra, regardless of which area of life this is for you, which house it falls into, it still kind of represents the way we form relationships, especially that which stems from the past, conditioning, other people, what this job taught me, what this ex taught me, what this ex friend, colleague, situation, company, anything, Libra, legal, even legal stuff. So what did I learn from that? Well, stuff that I needed to release, South Node and Libra, release certain way of thinking and philosophizing of relationships and how to form relationships, what relationship represent. So the big pictures, because Libra is very ideological sign, the personal ideology of relationships and adapt new ones, of course. So Jupiter trining South Node. If we truly release relationships, but not just where divorce or this relationship ended, this contract ended, this job ended, that's absolutely fine because that's the physical expression. But also we have to have the lesson of that incorporated, understood, and to act differently. So where I'm going with this, when we go to the job interview, we have to present ourselves differently. And if we do so, Jupiter rewards negotiation, communication. Mercury and Leo, we're able to express what we want, Leo, in an honest, clear way. Certain risks, understand it in the right context, of course. Mercury, mental, tactics, speech, communication, how we express what we want, Leo, pay off. Jupiter, blessing. And of course, sextile to North Node. In Aries, this is important because courage, bravery, and healthy self-confidence. What is healthy self-confidence? Well, Jupiter in Gemini. I'm going there knowing something. What I know, I know. You know what I mean? If I know something, then that is a value, a treasure, a weapon, a tool, symbolize it however you want, that's mine. So going there prepared with knowledge, or I have a skill, but I fully know that I have the skill and I can master it and I can handle it, I can prove it, I can demonstrate it, I know what I can do. Or in any way, shape, put this Jupiter and Gemini into context. Going there, knowing something, that should be the true fuel for self-confidence. And then Mercury in Leo trining this North Node, you speak it out or you project it ultimately, because nonverbal communication. And Leo, how should I explain this? Your aura, but not in a metaphysical way. Not the aura, but the non-verbal signs and the how should I say, non-direct communication impression that you leave on other people. May this be smell like your perfume and your body language, your way of being, all the subtle communication, that also has a lot of effect. That is also very, very important. So this trine is really good for this. Interviews, communication, reaching out, expressing your truth, your feelings, your desires, your passions, good for actors, public speakers, presidential elections, you know what I mean? So this is really good for that. However, I'm so sorry to break everyone's bubble. You know, we also have Neptune anoretic. We cannot forget that. That's so important because the shadow side, and I'm so sorry again to everything's a lie. You know, if I don't know who promises something big, chances are it's not real. You know, if politicians promises that they'll change the world around, would we elect them? Well, it's a lie. But, you know, how should I put this? This is where it's not a secret that it's a lie. You know, it's a lie that you can very easily tell that it's a lie. But still, charisma and the public speaking effect is there, provided by this Mercury and North Node trine, which I do believe is one of the highlights of the week. Even though it's a short-term energy, but Mercury will go retrograde. Not now, it's not even in shadow yet, if I'm not mistaken, because it will enter Virgo and then go retrograde somewhere in the end of July. Um, so when it will retrograde back into Leo, Mercury will still work on whatever it speaks out, negotiates, expresses, you know, it uses the North Node in Aries. Whatever initiation it has, or reaction, why not? Because sometimes it's not you who are the initiator. You get the phone call. Then you have to react, say something, give an answer. So remember, Mercury retrograde might be a good period to really think things through deeply, profoundly. Mercury sextiles Jupiter. Well, yeah, Mercury sextiles Jupiter, the same thing. Jupiter expands this. Gemini, knowledge, self-knowledge, knowing your heart, knowing your feelings, knowing who you are in your heart of hearts, helps you make the right choices, decisions, communication. So, and something goes viral on social media, stars, Leo, VIPs, royalty, big people will definitely hit the stage. Another really good energy that I like at the beginning of the week, Venus in Cancer. So she's really good there. She loves being there. Okay, she squares Aries, but that's not necessarily a bad energy. And where I'm going with this, sextile Uranus. And this is important because Venus rules Uranus. Venus rules Taurus, sorry about that. And the legend goes that Venus herself was born out of Uranus's jewels as they fell into the ocean, and from the foams Venus arises. So love is has a mind of her own, has an intelligence of her own, has a will of her own, and is rebellious, uncontrollable. So we might see this play out one way or another this week, but this can have so many beautiful expressions, surprises, romantic surprises, surprises from, you know, family, friends, gifts, presents. Beautiful. If we include Mercury, words, praise, recognition, gratitude, This is the good type of energy. And even in a practical way, Taurus money, Venus currency value, doing something with money or getting money for something that you need, resources, getting help. Sometimes it's not money that you need, it's like extra shoulders. Cancer, family. Family can come and help you. Like, let me give you an example. All this Cancer energy, for some people, it's they're moving, relocating. Well, of course, family comes and helps with boxes, and especially mommy, daddy, if it's the case, will help with everything that a new place needs because they thought about it even before you did. So this type of energy, it's really good, nurturing, care. I really, really like it. But now I'm gonna just quickly rush to the 10th/11th of July because this is when certain energies become exact. One of the energies that is going to be exact, but this is actually between the 10th and the 11th, so 10th and 11th. When Venus, on my screen, you see her being at 0 degrees of Leo, but before she gets there, she's going to be at 29 degrees of Cancer, which means a trine with Neptune. And this is this is truly a beautiful energy for artists and anyone who is beautifying something. This is like a well, like a cascade of inspiration. This is also love, compassion, solidarity, power of magic, but this is the magic of emotions, the magic of love, faith, deep faith, prayer, union, communion, solidarity, people uniting as one, sharing love, sharing so much. So this is really, really beautiful, inspirational. This is also healing. Because Neptune in at the very end degree of Pisces might be a fear, a trauma, a hurt, a pain, or even something coming from past lives, why not? That has been there, let's say just there in your life for many, many years, if not for all, always. And this energy can present relief or elimination or something big, karmic. Because, okay, this is a very short term energy. This is going to last a few hours. But Neptune is not going to be in this position anytime soon. Yes, it will return to that 29 degrees of Pisces in 2025 and even ingress into Aries. But the other planets, everything else is going to be very, very different. So every moment is basically unique. So this can really trigger a massive karmic healing, a release, or the power of love putting something right. But something equally as beneficial is Sun and Saturn trine. Saturn and Neptune both retrograde. Pluto also retrograde. Chiron not yet. Aries, I think Aries is anyway. Sun trine Saturn, a reality check, but one of the best types. But that which is, Cancer, protective, useful, helpful, emotionally, in a rather mature way, even if it's like a spiritual one. Let me give you an example. The divine, through blockages, obstacles, misfortunes, prevented you from getting what you wanted. You were ambitious about something. Now you get into the position to understand why it would have been a really bad idea to get it then or to get it at all. So a moment of true wisdom that gives comfort, that gives confidence, that gives a certain kind of feeling that we're really, really not alone. Either because other people are there, family, friends, community, or this actually true spirit, the divine, or something deep within from ourselves is there and is helping us, protecting us in a clear, even visible sun way. Saturn retrograde, this can also represent where some wise move in any way, shape, and form that we have done in the past, even in the recent past, now pays off handsomely. Saturn in Pisces, sacrifice, doing the right thing, being there for someone, ending something, anything that can have something to do with what I said previously, maybe that action or pre-requirement, and now the Sun and Saturn trine represents the karmic reward, either in feeling or whatever. So something really makes us feel protected, safe, secure, or we can have faith in something. Saturn, trustworthy, solid. We can rely on something. So this is again a very, very beautiful energy. Um, the sun actually no, the sun doesn't sextile Uranus yet. The sun sextiles Uranus at the very end of the week, so I messed up my notes a little bit. But what I wanted to say is that Uranus activates algol. But I have been speaking about this in the previous horoscopes, where algol is that notorious demonic star, where it is the head of the Medusa. So it is associated with the head of something, usually like a tyrannic leader or someone with a high iron fist and on just or very harsh authority or authoritarian figure. And Uranus, time for change, either a fall, but Uranus can also represent rise to power of the new, of the next, the successor, a leader who breaks the cycle or who invites the new, the next in. So Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, freedom, equality, liberty, fraternity, all of these, humanitarianism. So a person who embodies these traits rises. But this is just the beginning. This is just the setup because Mars slowly and surely is coming to the conjunction with Uranus. So yes, that is going to be definitely part of the picture. And also what I wanted to say, remember Mars activating the 21 degree of Taurus, the critical degree? The Sabian symbol of that is white dove flying over turbulent waters. How very suggestive. White dove can be peace. Turbulent waters, sea, actual waters, or the feelings of people, the collective emotion. So this white dove can be a breakthrough for peace, but at the same time, this can also represent that nature is intelligent and she communicates with symbols. So around that 8th, 9th of July, the beginning of the week, what happens? Either we can take it in a literal sense, individually speaking, I'm out walking. What do I see? What does nature show me? Of course, not something. I see a feather, but it's full of pigeons. The neighborhood is pigeon heaven. That's not a sign. But if I see, I don't know what kind of exotic hawk feather, that might be a sign. You know what I mean? So, whatever the sign is, use discernment. Like my example above. So, nature might be communicating with us, might be telling us something. But at the same time, Taurus is also money, finances, economy, stability, what happens in the world, like cryptocurrency or so you get what I'm saying. Um and finally, also around 11th, Venus is ingressing Leo. So she's entering Leo, which means she holds at this 0 degree, she still holds like an outer sign trine with Neptune. So the Neptunian energy is still there. Neptune, this divine or emotional or ideological or religious even influence is still there. The love is still there. Um, but it reaches the heart. So it fuels us to opposing Pluto. Well, Venus opposing Pluto, this can represent, for example, accepting a truth, a hard truth. Something dawns on us. We realize something. But, I wanted to say not in a mercurial way. However, Mercury, not all that long ago, was himself at the 0 degree of Leo. So Mercury had this opposition with Pluto. What actually, I do believe the best way to put this, what is knocking on the doors of our consciousness to reach our awareness as a process, necessarily not as a one-time event like an email or something. Venus is the emotional dimension. It sinks in. It might be a compromise. It might be a decision. It might be a Leo Aquarius axis. Do I take a risk or don't I? Do I trust or don't I? Do I love, Venus especially love, or don't I? Why? Because Leo is how much I love. Aquarius is how lovable I feel. So, this is a Pluto in Aquarius, how lovable I feel based on something that life is reflecting socially or in some other people, friends, my social life, my ideologies, my dreams, hopes, aspirations. Something is reflective of how lovable I feel. And how lovable I feel is the power here. It is the power game. So where is this in your chart, in your life? Because how lovable you feel in that sense might be actually the biggest element, invisible element, that holds power over your situation. So it sinks in emotionally, Venus, opposition Venus. Then I would rush to the very end of the week, the 14th, where, well, on one hand, the sun starts holding his square with Chiron, and then Aries. So again, the sun just follows the path of Mercury and Venus, where Mercury whizzed out from this from the sign of Cancer basically, and Venus also made haste. So both of these planets overtook the sun. The sun just illuminates basically. This is the best way to perceive this energy. Illuminates the path of Mercury and Venus. It reaches our consciousness. It sinks in. So of course, the wounding, the self wound, the I am wound, uh, Am I able to? Am I capable? Can I represent it? Am I that? Or am I even, that type of wound is understood. Our consciousness is there, it perceives it. Even though it might be a difficult energy, bit of pain, a bit of frustration, irritation. Also, all throughout the week, there are going to be squares and semi-squares, which I'm not going to mention. Those are irritants. So there is going to be, okay, you get me, the sextiles and trines and the good stuff. But the irritant, the stress factor, the tiredness factor, the fatigue, the, okay, but I'm so lost. Okay, but in the big picture of my life, whatever wonderful news and whatever situation I resolve, that's wonderful and welcome. But in the big picture, I'm still nowhere really. So this might be in the background, this frustration, irritation, or what you really need in your life, Mars activating that conjunction, pops in out of nowhere. And rather than the shock, you are like, well, I'm not sure if I even want it anymore. So, yeah, the semi-squares and sesquiquadrates are going to be there in the background, irritating. Like an example, Mars half squaring the North Node. Mars in the sign of Taurus. That means Uranus is, I do believe, half squaring it as well. The irritation, things are not moving as fast as we need. Taurus, the slowness of Taurus. But remember Mars and Uranus, that's like volcano. So we might expect the slowness of Taurus and we might not get it. Maybe that's the shock. It happens like this, not like the slow and steady Taurus energy that we expect. So, anyway, um, but the other important element is that I do believe Mercury is already in shadow. So at the very end of the week, we're already starting to, how should I say, become aware of what the Mercury retrograde themes in our lives are going to be um, in the end of July and August. And also, the sun is moving into position to hold the trine with Neptune. So whatever Venus and previously Mercury, the same thing where they held the trine with Neptune, that also sinks in. So that means magic, that means faith, that means spirit, that means hope, that means the power of the soul. But we must make sure that it's not delusion. An heretic Neptune, remember? And Jupiter himself is slowly and surely moving into the square position, not yet, but with Saturn, what is true and what is not true. So we must use optimism, hope, and faith correctly. You know what I mean? Because then it's truly a blessing and it's truly the gateway of miracles. But if we either allow ourselves to be washed away by the collective delusion, smokes and mirrors, and basically the psychological warfare, well, then of course we are not gonna be directing our spiritual energies in the right direction. Why? If we get involved in the collective, for example, we are part of that. We are a power cell, a battery of that, and not our own business or that which we want to be battery of. Do you know what? Understand? And what we are batteries of is so significant now, because the finale, look at this, Mars almost to the degree conjunct Uranus, which means both of them are going to be activating algol big time. So what happened? Something will happen, because both of these, okay, Taurus is slow, we get it, but both of these planets are the quickest energies in astrology. So something is gonna explode, detonate. I just want to look at something real quickly. Uh, where are you? Here you are. So my intuition was not right, wrong. I wanted to look at a fictional energy which is not a real planet, Vulcanus, volcano basically. And it is at 3 degrees of Leo conjunct Venus. Volcanic eruption, if you know what I mean. But this Venus suggests value, love, sensuality, passion in Leo, a powerful attraction. But this is a fire sign. So Vulcanus is exactly in a fire sign. So that can mean some physical, earthly eruption somewhere. So yeah, but politically, socially, economically, it's gonna be bumpy, shaky. It prepare for the earthquake, so to speak. So thank you so much for listening. And again, I must highlight the very essence of this horoscope and of all of July, all of the summer, all of the year. We must choose very carefully and diligently what do we want to power, because we are batteries, like it or not, even in a literal sense. And I'm going to stop sharing now because I said what I needed on the horoscope. We're electromagnetic batteries, but this is literally, not symbolically, biochemically, biologically, physically, electromagnetically, even, we're that. But you can imagine that symbolically even more. So we energize everything that we, like, for example, we know for a fact that we energize a place. We energize other people, like toxicity, for example. A toxic person is going to be felt and detected very quickly in a group of people who are not as toxic. This is just an example, but this is perfectly applicable to basically what we allow to exist in our reality, in our everyday thoughts and mindset, faith, philosophies, principles, and relationships. We energize that, we feed that, we create that. You know, the matrix, the so to speak matrix, this symbol has been used, so, it's almost like a cliche now. But we are the pixels, we are the batteries of that. We are the power cells of that. We make it real. So let us energize that which, Leo, we love, is important to us, Jupiter, we believe in, we want to support, and that, not that which we don't even want to make it part of our reality sometimes. But starving it doesn't mean ignorance. It means I'm aware, but right now I can't afford to care. I can't afford to be afraid. I can't afford to be concerned. I can't afford to be involved in politics, for example. So, yes. With this, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye.